All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. How we feeling on a Friday afternoon? Everyone happy? Everyone healthy?
Been better.
Oh.
I paid the price last night for a rookie mistake that Noodles would have never made because he travels a lot. I said, I don't want to go downtown Ottawa and be in the mix of everything. I'm leaving after the game, or I'm sleeping for a few hours and getting up very early and leaving. So I said, like, crappy hotel somewhere near the rink, please. That's all I need. I just need to lie down. As I'm putting my key in, I look down the hallway, and two gents with a roller cooler, both handlebar mustaches, and the guy that didn't have the roller cooler had a vat, like a massive bottle of whiskey. And I as soon as I saw them, I said, don't even think about coming near here. Mm-hmm. And I knew exactly what was going to happen. They were going to the game, and they were going back to the room beside mine to crush the booze. And I had to listen to this drunk podcast. It was nightmare fuel. Yeah. And as soon as I saw double handlebar mustaches in the roller cooler, I said, those guys are going to be my worst nightmare at 1 a.m.
Yeah, that's a sign of your age, man. And yet it is also a sign of a veteran that's been there and done that before. You've been one of those guys, rolling the cooler down. Where we all know the rink, we've all been to the rink. Like in Toronto, if you're not familiar with it, the rink is nowhere close to downtown in Ottawa.
No,
there's nothing to do out there. Yeah. Nothing. So if you're going to the game, there might be a bar that's around and open till like 11 or 11:30, but chances are you're going to post game at the hotel. And those are veterans. Those are guys that knew exactly what they were doing. You saw the look on their face. You knew it was coming.
As soon as I saw
it, you paid a price.
I did. I paid a price. As soon as I saw the two handlebar mustaches and like a Bass Pro curved hat and a beady-eyed little thirsty look, I said, those guys couldn't do nothing but this cause me problems.
Yeah.
And the second one is parents that let 10-year-old kids run up and down hallways. It's insane. Like, I don't know. What's the rules? I mean, I want a penthouse suite next time I travel. I'm not dealing with that.
Well, that's welcome to the world of hotels and motels and stuff. The thing that frustrates me, and I stay 100 times a year I'm in a hotel, but when you leave your door open and you have that latch, and when people are going from room to room, they open the door and then it goes dun dun dun, like
so loud.
Because they leave the door open for the next person come in. That's the only thing that frustrates me. Everything else I can sleep through. I'm good. I just kind of hold it. I cave it up in my room, so I'm not super social out in the hallways or anything. Mm-hmm. And yes, people have had 1,000 whiskeys and are yelling and screaming, and especially. What night was it? It was a Thursday night. I mean, it's
Thursday
night,
a
party night, right?
Battle of Ontario, and I would assume the post-game podcast, if they were Toronto guys and they were in town to watch the game, I'm sure Ohtani came up a lot. And
yes.
I should read this tweet. John Morosi of MLB Network has tweeted out that sources are telling him Shohei Ohtani is en route to Toronto today. He's on his way up here. A representative of his agency, CAA, which is a major player, would not comment when asked about Ohtani's travel plans. At this hour, Ohtani does not have a signed agreement with any MLB team, but it has been bedlam today online because someone in typical Toronto fashion was tracking private jets like overnight. Like some guy was up all night tracking the call system of airports all up and down the West Coast. And he found one at airport, like a small airport, I believe closer to Anaheim than downtown L.A., that out of nowhere added a private jet from L.A.
from
to
Santa
Toronto.
Ana to Toronto.
Right.
And I'm not a scoopster. I do know a bunch of people at the airport because my brother worked at the airport for a long time. And there might be some stuff going on at the airport. I'll just say that.
You'll just say that there might be some preparations possibly.
Might be some
airport.
preparations, but like what does it mean, though, Hayes? Like, he gets off the plane and he's a Blue Jay, or does he have to go through – he would have to go through physicals? Like, there would be a procedure before this guy actually inks anything, wouldn't there be?
Right. This is where I'm so conflicted on how to handle this, because we actually have been down this road before with Kawhi Leonard. Now, Kawhi's history in Toronto was different. Yeah. But if you can recall, we were tracking planes with Kawhi, and if
he landed and left an hour later.
Yes, he landed, and if I can recall correctly, MLSE sent their plane to pick him up. Where this was a scenario where it was a private jet. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani has more than enough money and is about to get more money than anyone could ever imagine to pay for whatever jet he needs. But a scenario like this, a lot of times, and what kind of got me wondering what was going on here is, the company, the team will send a bird for you. They're like, here, we're flying you out. We'll come pick you up. We'll send the representatives on the flight so they can be on the flight back with you, comfort level, all that kind of stuff, possibly negotiation on the bird. But with Kawhi, it was, in the end, a diversion tactic, right? Like, I look back on that now, and I believe wholeheartedly Kawhi Leonard was basically a Clipper before he even flew up here. The difference is,
was he using the Raps for just more money?
Yes, for more leverage to force the Clippers to make the Paul George deal. That's what he wanted. He wanted Paul George on his team, and I think him flying up was basically fine. I'll go ask the Raptors to do it. And like a couple of days later, we found out Paul George is on his way to L.A., Kawhi's on his way to L.A. I don't think that's what's happening here, though. That, again, very cynical to view this as Ohtani's coming up here to spark the Dodgers to find an extra $50 million or $100 million, or the Angels. That seems far-fetched, doesn't it?
He's coming to sign. If he's coming here, I felt, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, because you just framed it a little different way. I felt like Kawhi Leonard flew up here to look them in the eyes and say thank you, but I'm signing in L.A. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but saying, he could have done that on the phone. He could have used leverage, all of that. But, classy or not, like, this is a guy that won here. And it was a big decision. Sometimes you do give people the respect to look them in the eyes and say, I am going to move somewhere else.
Well, now, let's just put that into perspective, Noodles. This Ohtani is not flying up here 5 hours to shake the Jays' hands and say thanks for the
He doesn't know anything to the Blue Jays.
He doesn't. That's a phone call. That's the Craig McTavish Zoom. that type of stuff. Or who was it, McTavish or
Craig
Ralph
McTavish, Kruger? Or maybe it was Ralph Kruger that got fired via Zoom. I can't remember. It was one of the
whatever.
two.
That's the Zoom where you go, hey, thank you for your time. We're going to head in a different direction.
Right.
Like, you might even have a representative send that. If he is en route to Toronto, he's signing there. Like, that's the way I feel.
I think you're probably right, Noodles. And that is a good point, that Kawhi probably promised the Raptors he would come back and meet with them. And out of respect to them, he did that. And I don't believe he told them that day he wasn't returning. In fact, I know he didn't. We know through reporting, beyond that eventually he sent a text at like midnight saying, guys, I'm out of here. I'm going to L.A. But I do think there was an element of respect, for sure, from Kawhi and company to sit in a room with Masai and MLSE, et cetera, where this, obviously, as we know it, Shohei Ohtani doesn't owe a thing to anybody.
Nobody.
Outside of maybe the Angels. Like, maybe he'd go and meet with the Angels and say, hey, thanks for everything, but I'm out of here. But the fact that it's like this private bird is landing in the next 45 minutes, there is going to be media all over Pearson. That would speak to probably, people up at Pearson saying, how are we going to make this work? This guy's going to land, and there's going to be helicopters in the air trying to find this guy.
It's the OJ chase again. That's what
I just wish this guy had. I wish this guy had a sense of humor. And he brought one of his buddies that weighs 380 pounds, and he has like an empty case of beer, and just comes out of the plane, dumps the empties out. He's sweating. He's a mess. And everyone's like, what is this guy?
It would be so much funnier if it's someone on that private bird that's doing something he's not supposed to be doing, right? And he lands, and he's immediately on national TV.
Yeah, I know. He's got 3 girls with him, and he walks down the steps, and he's like, what the hell's going on here? I need that to happen.
I need that too.
I need cameras to track the wrong plane and bust somebody doing something completely outrageous.
Right.
A guy who said he's on a business trip and he's landing landing from Vegas with peelers or whatever.
Whatever
you
it
know,
is.
like just it's
Yeah.
not good. But
Hey, pal, you're on national TV. Who are you, and where's Shohei Ohtani?
yeah.
The guy's like, I have no idea, but
He's
can
like,
you
I
please
just
turn the
jumped on
camera
this.
off?
I jumped on this bird in L.A. and I was the first bird. He's a rich kid.
Or
Heading
even
back
the
to
bird
Forestville.
beside Ohtani's that's getting ready to leave Toronto. Guys are supposed to be going on a golf trip, and all kinds of nonsense is loading onto that bird, and they're
Right.
on camera. I
The old
need it.
Roger Dorn in the
background.
background.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's like, hey,
Just
there's
heading out to
Ohtani.
Arizona to play some golf. No, you're
Wow.
not. No, you're not.
But yeah, like this is it's interesting how the sourcing is coming out here where John Morosi, and others are going to be all over this now, is trying to respect, I guess, the privacy of Ohtani, but also the literal logistics of it, where his tweet is that he's flying up here, but he has not signed with anyone yet. Well, I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure he has not literally signed. But if Ohtani lands at Pearson and doesn't sign as a Blue Jay, it's the biggest troll job in the history of pro sports.
Yes.
Like it's the biggest troll job in the history of pro sports.
It
I don't
has
care.
to be signing Hayes.
It has
because
to be.
If
It
it
has
was
to
all
be.
the physicals
Signing.
and any of the other stuff, guess where that would
They'll
have
go
been
to
done?
him.
No, they
Exactly.
go to Dunedin. It would have been in Dunedin,
Right.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
For an official signing, it's got to be the only reason he would come here.
Yes.
Because I talked about the physicals and all the medicals that they would have to go through. They could have done that in Dunedin. So to come to
Exactly.
Toronto,
Yeah.
it means signing.
They very
Before
well
they-
could have done that in Dunedin, right? It
Yeah.
could have been a.
Maybe they did.
It may have been a physical down there on top of the full tour.
Why
I mean,
not? Why wouldn't you do it and get it out of the way?
Well,
Exactly.
Because before you decide to spend $500 million or more, you're digging under every rock in this guy's life. You are making sure that he is healthy. You're right. I think the physical, I think everything is done. This guy, if he's landing in Toronto, it's to announce, it's to sign, it's to do the song and dance, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's not flying up here in the hopes like, hey, maybe I get a contract or vice versa.
No,
if he's landing in
he
Toronto,
knows.
this guy is a Toronto Blue Jay, and it is Shohei B. That's what I read online there.
Well, I want to clarify that 'cause
Shohei B?
Shohei
Well,
B. I like that. I like that
Somebody,
name.
I can't take. Matt sent that into the show. I can't actually take credit for that. I laughed out loud when I saw that Shohei
ZB, and I'm here today, right? I can't tell you how many. It's kind of a weird feeling when you get tweets from people who are either coming at it from the right stance, but I have a long history of missing like the biggest days in sports radio here.
People
Anything
were
big
begging for
happens
you
in
to
Toronto.
leave, man.
Yeah.
They were like,
People were
"Stay home."
dying for me to like be ill. They're like,
Yeah.
can you be like physically ill today? Can you suffer so Ohtani can come here? I'm like, that's a pretty dark kind of mood and approach. But yeah, I think we're all on the same page here. Like if this bird lands, if this private plane lands at Pearson in the next 20 minutes to a half an hour.
Is there going to be like TMZ cameras there and the whole nine?
Well, there's
or-
security and stuff though. You can't get on the tarmac, and
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
assume the security has probably been tipped off. This guy's coming in. Right, it's
That-
not like
they
he's
have-
royalty.
They have been.
They have been, exactly. So if they've been tipped off that, hey, this guy's coming in, it's going to be bedlam, the media's going to be up there, we should have tried to sneak like Al's brother in, like covertly try to get him in as like a customs agent to try to get the scoop, because everyone's going to want a picture. And even if the media doesn't get actual visuals of him, someone's going to see him and leak it. Right? Like, that's likely what happened in Dunedin. It wasn't the Jays. It wasn't Ohtani. It's probably some guy working security that's like, hey, Ohtani's here. He just walked in. I saw him. I just told my
Tells
buddies.
his buddy, who then sends out a tweet, and
Yeah.
then it's game over.
And that's what's
But it's
gonna
just
happen
a
here.
weird. It's a weird kind of end to the saga where it's going to be like, okay, if this guy gets it's on film coming off out of the bird, then he's signing with the Jays. It's
That
like
is. Elvis
it's not
is
the
in the
John
building.
Tavares tweet with the the Leafs
Pajamas.
bed sheets and the pajamas, where it's like it's just kind of a different finality to the scenario where it's kind of weird, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what it is it's very businesslike, right? It's
Yeah.
not really a circus. The circus has been social media. The circus has been, our show and other shows trying to wrap their head around what this is without much detail, where by all accounts, I mean, Shohei Ohtani is the definition of a pro. All he does is work out, study, and play ball. That's what he wants to do. Obviously, it's coming with a massive amount of money. I mean, let's not be naive here. It's like John Rahm going to live. Ohtani's not coming up here so boys and girls across the country will love baseball, right? He's coming up here because they're going to pay him a fortune, and he's going to play, and they've obviously sold him on what it's going to mean to be a Blue Jay, and likely that they're going to go all in on winning. And I think that's what's so exciting here if you're a Blue Jay fan, is Ohtani obviously represents something that is completely unique to anything else we've ever experienced in baseball in my lifetime, right? Like what there has been, and I said this earlier in the week, it's been like this separate ecosystem where there's baseball and then there's Ohtani. Like he's his own brand, his own sport in a way where you're just tracking what that guy's doing. You're not even caring about the scoreboard. You don't care about if the Angels are winning or losing. What's happening in the AL West? You're like, what happened with Ohtani tonight?
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many times I do that.
In the app, it's like it should have just have an Ohtani.
Just an Ohtani tracker.
Yeah, he hit 2 bombs and he struck out 10 guys today.
He's Elvis. He's that popular. Like he is literally. He's Taylor Swift. Like he's another level on top of everyone else. Like
in baseball, he is, and obviously what he represents is maybe the best hitter in the game today, if not certainly one of the three to five best hitters in the game, and an arm that will return at some point, likely will return at some point, and when he's on his game is one of the 8 or 10 best arms in baseball. But I would have to believe if he's up here to sign and the Blue Jays are handing him, astronomical amounts of money, and they've promised him a competitive franchise, then Ohtani is going to help them compete and help them win more. But they got to go all in and keep trying to get better and better and better.
Yeah.
Like it can't just become the Toronto Shohei Ohtanis, because he's been living that for 6 years in L.A.
He's already done it.
He's already done it. Like if you're Ohtani, you understand you're getting the money anyway. You're going to get the money with the Dodgers. You get the money, a handful of teams in baseball would give you big money. And let's face it, the Jays are not the equivalent of the Dodgers when it comes to wins and losses, or the Braves. There's a number of teams in baseball that have been better. Texas, by all accounts, was willing to kick tires on them. They just won the World Series.
Now, so he's coming up here. There's probably a bunch of people that would say in baseball, you add Ohtani to the Jays, lineup-wise, they're probably still not even close to the Braves.
They still need to get better.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not trying to pour water on what's going to be incredible. What I'm saying is, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall when they said, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, and then he goes, that's great. How are you going to help me win? Because it can't just be, I don't know, we'll figure it out because we have you. Like, there's got to be even more to it. And I think that's just an extra layer of excitement if you're a Blue Jay fan, because Ohtani represents one thing, and then on top of it is, man, they're going to have to even get more creative and try to get better and better.
But I think they are. They're going to add to it. They're not going to put their feet up and go, okay, we got the golden goose. Our work is done here. Like, they've got to continue to add. And do you guys have any inkling? Like, what is this number? Like, realistically, Hayes, you tracking it. Like, is it $500 million? He's going to get $550? Like, what is the realistic number that we're talking here? Like,
I think it had been bandied about that you're talking $500 million, right? Like, Trout signed a long-term deal for over $4 million. I don't remember exactly what it was. It sounds as if like Juan Soto may have turned down $4 or close to $4. Now, the bowl number is one thing. Yeah, it was. And it's different if it's, is it an 8-year deal, 10, 12? Are there player options where he can opt out? Are there incentives where if he pitches, he makes more money? It's difficult to know the details until we actually see it and until it's actually reported on. But I would guess, Noodles, it's a minimum $400 million, right? Like, I would think it's a minimum 10-year, $400 million deal, because Judge just signed for what, 40 a year, 42, 43 a year?
Yeah, but so 10, 4, no. Isn't this guy like a 50?
I hear you. I'm saying the minimum. You asked me.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you. I think the minimum is going to be 4. Now, could it be 5, 550? I guess it could be.
We're tracking a flight right now. This is the Babcock thing. Do you remember? Weren't they tracking the MLSE flight out of where?
Out of Detroit, I think it was.
Like this. The thing is I believe
flight tracker.
And I've said this before. Like, if this guy is a unicorn, like, shouldn't it be 50 to 60 million this guy makes per year?
It very well could be. I think the arm would be a little bit concerning. Again, I don't know how much leverage the teams will have in dictating anything. Right. Like at some point there is a limit where every team in the league will say, all right, relax. Like we're not getting that crazy. But if his arm was intact this year, I think if you told me it was 50-55, I wouldn't be surprised. Right? Because you're paying for a guy that's going to give you 500, 550 at bats, 600 at bats with an OPS up over 1,000, 50 home runs, and he's going to give you maybe 25 or 30 starts with statistics that are outrageous. I mean, you're basically paying for the best hitter in baseball and one of the 4 or 5 best arms in baseball. So, yeah, I guess I'm sure that was his argument and likely will be, and we'll see if it plays out that way.
Well, I'm reading some of the tweets. The guy wrote to OverDrive, Carissa Thompson is reporting Ohtani's jet just landed in Detroit.
Carissa would know that. Ohtani's a Tiger.
Oh, my God.
According to Carissa Thompson,
people are
Ohtani
so creative.
is a
I'll tell you
Tiger.
what, Doogie, you got to earn your money today, buddy. You better get, I want the camera shot of that plane door opening.
Yeah.
So,
I
Doogie,
don't know how Doogie would possibly have that kind of sway, but it would be amazing. It would be amazing if Doogie Howser.
Instead of cutting to the jet, as soon as that jet, you see the little Toronto circle and it lands. I want some kind of cam. I want the cam on that bird. I want to see the door open.
Well, I saw someone point out earlier. Someone linked me to a tweet that this guy's landing right at rush hour on a Friday in Toronto.
He might turn around and go home.
He might just say screw it. Although
Can you imagine if
LA.
he was going to sign and then he gets on the Don Valley and he's like, I'm out of here.
I'm not doing this, man.
If I'm Ross or Mark, I'm like, first thing I'm doing is when we pick him up, police escort right downtown because I can't make this guy sit in traffic.
The helicopter would be a baller move, that's for sure.
You put him in a helicopter and you get him downtown in 7 minutes so that he doesn't change his mind when he gets stuck on the 401.
Everyone would accept it too, right? Like if he got a full police escort, I think everyone in Toronto would be like, no problem. I'll happily, I will move over here, Ohtani, make your way downtown.
It's just amazing what the limits are you can go to with pro athletes, because I used to hear guys in the minors when they would have to drive down to the minors and they were trying to get receipts for gas and the team would say, I don't know about paying you for gas driving back to the American Hockey League. Meanwhile, you've got another guy who's about to sign for $500 million, and they're talking about a chopper to get him downtown. It's just amazing where you're at the bottom, and then when you're a megastar, what the possibilities are.
Right, and this is such uncharted territory because, Toronto's had a lot of stars, but this is so different because if he's coming up here, if Ohtani's flying in to sign here, like he chose Toronto, regardless of what they paid him, regardless of the incentives, that's great. People in the States are going to try to cheapen it and say, well, it's because they gave him this or because of that. It doesn't matter what the reasoning is. If you're a fan, you simply benefit from Ohtani being a Blue Jay. And this will be fascinating to see how, people in New York react, Boston react, LA react, because the Blue Jays were not even on the radar for Blue Jay fans.
Dude, they're going to do exactly what you said, Hayes. You said the American media, they were like, I'm done with this Ohtani stuff. It's because the Blue Jays were attached to it.
Yeah.
It'll just be a blurb saying this guy signed with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Right. It should be, it'll be bigger within the game, but the outskirts of the pure diehard baseball media, they will not have the same reaction as if this guy
if he
went
signed
to the
with the Yankees, there's a panel set up of baseball guys out front of Yankee Stadium. But the Jays, it's just a report about him signing with Toronto.
Right.
That's what it'll be.
It could be very different. And yet, as I was talking to a buddy about this today, this guy's been playing 10 p.m. starts on the West Coast anyway. He was playing with the Angels. The Jays have more of a profile than that. And that means he's going to Yankee Stadium a bunch, Fenway a bunch. He's on the East Coast. He'll be playing prime time on the East Coast. I think it's a big, big boom for baseball. I'm not saying that they would choose it. They wouldn't choose the Jays, clearly. I mean, if they could, they'd probably choose the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Sox, the Cubs. Maybe be a number of teams that the commissioner would pick first. But the Jays are not at the bottom. I don't even think they're in the bottom third necessarily. And what it will do is it will challenge, like Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. You're going to not put Ohtani on there?
Yeah.
Because I get it, the ratings and all that, but he's a ratings monster himself, Shohei Ohtani. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but we're tracking the private plane.
Let's see. Put it up again, Doogie.
Yeah, we need to see it. Some guy, Spencer's writing and saying he needs to jump on the Up Express and get downtown.
That would be great.
That would be hilarious. So yeah, the tracker, it's like right over the studio right now. Like this is really happening. It really feels like it's happening.
There's a press conference at 6 p.m. I don't know if that's
I don't know if that's verified or not either way, but we got to be careful, whether it's tweeting out or stuff, because somebody sent to us going that there's a reservation at a sushi restaurant for 50 people tonight.
That Kikuchi
made by Kikuchi.
I guarantee you it's Kaji Sushi. I guarantee you.
But
I guarantee you.
Point being is that somebody else wrote, well, that's for his wife's birthday or something. So, I don't know.
Right.
You don't want to. This is why Twitter is dangerous when you start reading, because you press on the avatar.
Embrace it.
But it's also hilarious.
26 followers just making stuff up. So that's why.
I know, but that one is harmless, right?
Yes,
like that one,
yes.
The idea that Yusei Kikuchi personally called a sushi joint and said, I need a table for 50 tonight.
Yeah.
And then I saw that tweet where right underneath it, some guy goes, thanks, pal. That was for Kikuchi's surprise party for his wife. And it's been ruined. But this is the beauty of the internet. People have looked it up. Yusei Kikuchi's wife is her birthday's in June. So I just love the idea of
so
Yusei
that's such
Kikuchi
a bogus thing then. Somebody's saying they saw a rezo for Kikuchi.
Well, no, the rezo could have happened. It's not. The joke was that it was ruining a surprise party, which it wasn't. But I can't imagine Yusei Kikuchi is personally calling a place saying, can you put me down for 50, a party of 50 for Kikuchi? I doubt that.
I can't believe the guy Googled when his wife's birthday is. Good police work, though. I like it.
We got some real detective work going on right now.
I found out the entrance, and Craig sent it to us, the entrance that he needs to have when he gets off the plane. Do you remember Pasi Nurminen?
Yes.
Can you imagine he gets off the plane and he's Pasi Nurminen when the Finns won, the bronze? Was that the bronze they won? I think.
Yeah, it was not like a gold medal, I don't believe.
No, it was like the bronze or the silver, I believe. And Pasi was so buckled, and they had to carry him off.
That'd
he
be
fell
great,
down
man.
the stairs.
Get Shohei just partying all the way back to Toronto on his way up. So, yeah, I mean, listen, we'll see. It sounds as if, according to John Morosi, he's on that bird. Like you say, Shohei Ohtani's on his way to Toronto. Now, what that means beyond that is still up for debate, but we're tracking it all afternoon. Shohei Ohtani, apparently he's going to be arriving in Toronto any moment now. If and when that happens, we'll have the news and the full breakdown right here on OverDrive. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050N on TSN 4. All right, OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. It's another element to this whole Ohtani thing. Not only with the Jays, is all the sports books are adjusting their odds, right? Like, where's he going to sign? The likelihood of the Blue Jays winning the AL East, winning the World Series. Odds are moving all the time, But I guess we're all collectively tracking this private plane. If you're not aware of this, that means you haven't been on social media or you're never on social media. Because I woke up to it this morning, I'm sure like you guys did. Someone that's a Blue Jay fan at like 7:30 this morning found out that a private plane was flying from Anaheim to Toronto.
I ought to ask you, how the hell does somebody find that out? Like, if someone's doing their own detective work without having a relative that works at the airport in Santa Ana, how the hell does somebody do their detective work like that?
I guess there have to be logs for every flight plan, right? So every plane has to be registered, needless to say. And I'm guessing this guy had, he had favorited or tabbed all the airports in the greater LA area and must have been tracking it like every hour. Is there something new? Because you knew it was a private bird. This guy wasn't getting on WestJet and flying up here, although that would be hysterical. WestJet lands at Pearson and there's Ohtani flying business. But I guess he probably had been tracking the 10 or 12 different airports within a couple hours of L.A.
Apparently the bird's on the ground.
Apparently the plane has landed. The plane has landed. There was a private jet. Again, I think it would be hysterical if those doors open and it's some guy that is not Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, and he's totally gassed, and he just empties out a case of empty beer cans and just walks off with no tarp on and a bunch of gorgeous girls.
Yeah, immediately. Just Chris Farley's right down the stairs. But, yeah, I mean, the media, this is the thing, because this got out, that there was a private plane coming up. Like, people have been preparing all day, because it didn't leave until, I think, noon Eastern time. So for the last, 7, 8, 9 hours, everyone's like, all right, plane's coming up. We'll see who's on it. And I don't know if you can get cameras on the tarmac. I can't imagine you can. I'm sure security up at Pearson. Oh, you've been talking to some people. If and when something like this would happen, would have some sort of a plan, right?
If there's a security detail, one of those guys doing security detail is like, I'm a massive Jays fan, and I'm going to snap a pic now.
Yeah, someone's taking a selfie with them at Pearson.
They could get fired for that, though, can't they? Like, that's the.
I don't know.
Are they in the union? I don't think you can get fired
maybe
for
not
taking a picture.
Security detail, Noodles, but the guy that comes and changes the light bulb on the. Who knows? Yeah. Somebody's going to be looking and taking a pic. That's the first thing that's going to get out.
There will be the first pic of him getting off the plane or whatever. But nowadays, I guarantee you somebody went to the Westin next door that faces the airport and has a high-powered camera, and they're zooming in on it's the charter terminal, which is across, right? It's not going to be the main terminal. He'll be at the charter terminal. So people will be around there. They'll be at the fence. You'll have the long-range cameras. There is going to be video or pics of this guy getting off the bird.
Absolutely. And or walking around downtown. They'll drive him under. If he's going to the Rogers Center, they'll drive him underneath. But they're working on there's new construction going on at the Rogers Center. So I'm not even sure if that's where he would necessarily be going. But wherever he's going, there's underground parking, and he'll go underneath and disappear. He's not going to try to find a spot on University or something. He's three-way parking on front. Any spots available down here? Just hitting the Boston Pizza on front.
I got to tell you guys, one tweet that did get my attention, and to my knowledge, it should get my attention. Max Domi tweeted, "Let's go Blue Jays," and Max and his father are fairly connected with the inner workings of the city and pro sports. I found that to be an interesting tweet. I don't think he would just tweet that out in the middle of a hockey season in December.
That's a
LFG Blue Jays. That one got my attention where I'm like, his dad knows everybody. His dad's very, very connected in the city. So I saw that and I'm like, this guy's signing.
I
with the
agree
Jays.
with you, man. If that's William Lagesson, I'm like, I don't know, man.
I'm like,
so.
Yeah, I don't know. What is the funniest person that could walk off that plane as far somebody just tweeted to us, what if the plane has landed and Radko Gudas gets off for a fourth rounder to the Leafs?
Right.
Something like that, where it's still newsworthy and quality news, but it's not right. It's like a surprise party and somebody walks through the door and it's not the person they're surprising, and people are like, it's just you,
Right.
You don't want to be any other player coming to Toronto right now in a different sport, in a trade for a bottom six forward or a bench guy in the NBA, because no one will even know your name in a year.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to get any attention right now if you're in the Toronto sports scene right now. If you get waived, there was a Raptor that got waived this afternoon. People are like, oh, really? Cool. Good stuff. Where's Ohtani? Where's that plane? Because there's some big news. Joseph Woll, we haven't even talked about the Leafs. That was phenomenal last night. And he gets injured, and now everyone's concerned, understandably, that he's going to be out for possibly a long time. I don't know. But
I was I butchered the call on the Ottawa side. I thought he got hit. Originally, I thought he got hit in the side of the neck. The live play, I thought he miscalculated and it hit the side of the neck. And then I'm watching the replay and oh my God, he just blew something out.
Right.
He was in trouble. To get helped off. my heart hurt for him because he was. I said this morning on a show. He was first and second star last night. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was brilliant. Like he was, and to see like that was a harmless play. Crossbody, just kind of grabs it, but like the wear and tear, like he was explosive last night. 4 or 5 side-to-side saves. Like he might have tweaked something before and then that ended it type of thing. I don't know, and I'm not going to speculate. But my heart hurt for him because I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, he was unbelievable last night, and it looked like, okay, he's taken off, and this is his time. And this is troublesome on a bunch of different levels. It's like now he's out for possibly, I don't know, it's going to be extended time, so then he has to come back and get it all back together and then get back into the net and get his mojo together. He has to wonder if the other goaltender is going to get hot and steal the net from him. He might be on the outside looking in. It's bad, man. And then you're just wondering about the player in general, where this has been such a great story, but can he be healthy? Like, can this guy go through 3 seasons in a row where he's not injured? I don't know. It brings up a lot of questions. It's just a really difficult thing to see when there was so much positive momentum created and then this happens. Like, it just brings about so many questions, Hayes.
Well, and Brian, you've said this before, and I don't disagree. He's been one of their more consistent players. He's been one of their best players, probably 3 or 4, like Willie.
Nylander, Riley, and Woll. Those are your 3 best players. Those are your 3 MVPs. I don't, and I understand Matthews put up numbers. Other guys have stepped in. Tavares has been all right. Marner's been all right. For me, it's Joseph Woll, and especially because of the way Samsonov's played, it's amplified how important his role was. And it's been such a great story as a homegrown talent, drafted, developed, shows up, plays great. He single-handedly won them that game last night. He single-handedly won the game against Florida a week ago. Like, those are 2 big games within the division where he's been responsible for all 4 points. And it sucks. It sucks for him because, like, even Keefe after the game said that, like, about his career. Right, like and not that this is a career-ending injury, it's not. But he's trying to establish himself. He's finally got a platform. Yes, it's a tandem, but clearly he had established himself as the number 1 recently.
The go-to. Yep.
But what I will say is, it's a terrible situation. It's a bad injury, but it can't be the end of your season, and I don't believe it will be the end of the season. What it does is put an emphasis on Ilya Samsonov snapping out of it, starting to play better, and an emphasis on the Martin Jones contract that had those booby traps attached to it that got him through to the minors so he can be here as a bona fide number 3 that is now a part of a tandem. Because if your whole season, and I'm talking about the Maple Leafs here, is going to go down the drain because a rookie goalie gets hurt 23 games into the season, you were never a serious player anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's on Samsonov to snap out of it, the team to collectively play better and rally around this. And again, I don't think if it is the end of the world, then they were never serious anyway. Well, I guess is the way to put it.
Does he, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Joseph Woll have some injury issues?
Yes. In the minors and
prior
coming up
to this. That's the only thing I thought of is like, is this a is this a second time on that particular side, that knee, that hip, whatever? That's what's concerning because we've seen young goaltenders, put some mileage on and they get an injury and it's tough to battle back. Like that's, I'm not lying. Like my heart hurt for him watching him.
And Noodles, you talk about goalies coming into their prime at like 27, 28. It's like, how are you even going to make it there? I don't know what it is, knees, hips, groins, all.
I don't want to guess, but Brian, you make a good point. Like if this flushes their season down the tubes, then they they weren't there yet. And to be honest, they're 13-6-4. We haven't seen their best. I didn't love their game at all last night. I didn't,
especially the first period. They were awful last night.
Yeah, but they won. It's hard to pick apart and win.
They're 7-1-2 in their last 10.
I thought last night, guys, was a greasy road win. They stunk the joint out in the first period. They hadn't played in 5 days. Second, they took over. Their big guys made some plays. And then they hung on in the third. They had some great saves. Like, that is a greasy – I called it the greasy road recipe. All elements were there, and they got it done.
I agree. Wow. I agree. And that's – again, yes, it hasn't been pretty. They understand they've got to be collectively better. Yet, the flip side is, like, you could be Ottawa, who's 10-11. Right, and keeps losing, or you could be Edmonton, who are rocking now, and I think most people feel pretty good about that. But yeah, they're 13-6-4, and they're 7-1-2 in their last 10, and there's this like negative, nervous energy around the team.
Just, you know what it is?
I don't quite understand it.
Well, the end, you're like, you can't take the points away. You look at the record on paper. It's just when you're watching the games, you're going, you expect more, and that's what it is. So I'm not here to criticize a win, because a win is a win is a win. I witnessed something, and I don't know if we have the video to it, and maybe Joe from the Bridge can pull it up. But there was a math equation on the panel last night that I want to play here.
Okay, I think we have it here. I'm not familiar with this. I was on the air during the pregame. I'm quite curious what you're alluding to.
Well, let's see how this unfolds.
You made a good point to me earlier about how they're still young.
Yeah, both of these teams are the same thing. They've got 65% of it right. All the detail stuff, the other 45%, that's really important to winning. They just don't care about it enough right now.
65-45.
65, the old 65-45. I love that idea.
I got
110%.
You talk about people people pick that one up. I was getting abused immediately.
So I was on the headset, and I go, did he just say 65-45? And Scotty Tetro goes, yes. And I go, that's 110%.
Got to give 110%.
Hey, that's what I meant, Hayes. You got to give 110%.
So
that's right.
They actually had me on the headset. I was going to pop into the panel and go, what's going on with the math here? Because nobody on the panel batted an eye.
Right.
Like I thought Duthie or Meth or Cheryl would have been like, hold on a sec. We know what you mean, 65-35.
It's not a lie if you truly believe it, Noodles.
Oh, I loved
As George
it.
Costanza might say, it's not a lie if you truly believe it.
The super
you should have, that would have been
last night.
funny if you came in the headset and said, oh, dog, what on earth are you talking about? It's 35%.
Yeah.
35%.
Well, I made sure. Like, I called down to the truck right away, and I was like, can you please clip that for tomorrow's show? I said, outside of this. But then I called Doogie today, and he's like, oh, no, there was talk about it on Twitter. I'm like, oh, I'm sure there was. Like, nothing goes unnoticed. But I thought the super panel was awesome.
It was spectacular.
I enjoyed
it met expectations. It wasn't just a clever name. It was a super panel. And we were supposed to have Meth on, our boy Mark Mathot, and again, this Ohtani stuff is just this is going to be one of those shows where, like, when it's described later, it won't make sense. Like, the description of the show will be they spent 3 hours talking about a plane, and yet I think if you're in the moment and listening, it does make sense. Right? Like, I think most Blue Jay fans, I'm getting texts from buddies that are like, we're tracking it. What are you hearing? What's going on with the plane? It's like we would know. How would we possibly know?
I'm seeing the craziest stuff. Like, I'm seeing a screenshot of a message saying, my buddy works for the thing that does the jerseys, and apparently there was a $260,000 order for Ohtani jerseys. So it's crazy.
Well, here's the thing. Like, somebody knows that's in power, right? Like, the Blue Jays know. Obviously, like, he's not surprising them. They're not scrambling like, oh my God, he's on the bird. I didn't think it was him. Like, they are well aware that if Ohtani's flying up, and there's video of that looks like Ohtani walking through Pearson. I just don't know if that's an old video or not.
That can't be, because if it's on a private bird, you're not walking through a bunch of people standing there. Like, that's an old video.
And that's the problem. Like, there was a picture that went viral the other night saying he was at the Laker game. And then the photographer of the picture said, actually, I shot that picture. It was from 2019. So thanks for coming out. And Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers was sitting right beside him. They're like, go look. Flea's not at the game tonight. Like, that is not him live at the crypto.com arena or whatever
There's just so
called.
Many. My buddy just messaged me. He said, Ohtani just walked into Harbor 60.
Yeah.
He just poured himself a drink of Sapporo. Like, it's just nonsense. People are enjoying it. I mean,
I don't understand why people with, like, normal jobs and stuff would tweet out garbage and nonsense. I don't know what they get out of it. I find it kind of crazy. It is funny. Yeah, but it's just goofy.
I think it's just people are living in the moment. It's like you don't even know how to brace for this. Yeah. There's no experience like this. The idea that Shohei Ohtani is on a flight up to Toronto and likely coming up here to sign, like he's going to be a Blue Jay. There's no preparation for it, and I think people are just like, let's see how it plays out, man. Let's do what we got to do.
I'm telling you, that Max Domi tweet sealed it for me.
I agree with you.
Just honestly, you might think I'm crazy for thinking that, but I know him and his dad know everything about everything in Toronto. And for him to just say that, I think that's a telling tweet.
They also know Hollywood, and I think CAA is representing Ohtani. And CAA has monsters in Hollywood. Like
probably
monsters.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
It very well could be someone that's talked to the agent and said, what's up? Like, I'm always curious about that. Like, yes, Ohtani's a monster. But if there's someone that's even more popular than him within the agency, and that client calls up and goes, I want a straight answer, where's he playing? Is the agency going to say we can't give you that answer? Like, I don't know. Are they going to be like, all right, Marky, all right, Mark Wahlberg, we'll tell you, but don't tell anybody else.
But there's probably, like a cone of silence. I mean, think of the secrecy around so many things in this world where people are in the know, but you only tell people in the know that won't pass it on type of thing. So
who knows? Who knows? But Max is jacked, and I think a lot of people in Toronto are jacked, throughout the country for that matter.
Yeah.
Steve Phillips coming up in about 15 minutes. We're tracking Shohei Ohtani. We believe the private plane has landed. Is he on it? We'll see. We'll keep you up to date. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050N on TSN 4. All right, it's really difficult to decipher between, social media and your friends and your family, people texting. I just had a buddy saying, I'm downtown, there's a chopper flying around. I think it might be him. I'm like, come on, dude.
I've seen some videos of him walking into a private terminal, but then I looked outside, I'm like, it's too light out.
Yeah,
If you look at that one video, it's like it's darker right now than that.
Yeah.
So how could that be the video of him walking in?
Maybe it's a Collingwood, Toronto type of thing. Out by the airport, it's dark. Downtown, it's not. I mean, it is possible, right? Anyway, we're tracking Shohei Ohtani without really knowing what's going on. But what I will say this hour is John Morosi of MLB Network is a really connected guy. He said earlier this hour, sources have told him Ohtani is flying to Toronto. Like, he's up here. He is on the private bird. And if he's coming up here, put two and two together. I can't imagine it's to get an update on the renovations, right? It's likely to come in and lock in a deal. And if that's the case, man, it's just one of the more wild stories in Toronto sports history. So we're going to try to put it into perspective into the next hour. Steve Phillips will join us if he signs. What are the next moves beyond this for the Jays? OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.